I'm so excited to be here. It's been like 10 years. Yeah, it's really a long time. Reverend Sue is one of my favorite people of all time, and I say that with all total yes. And she's authentic, full of love, and really cares, and you can just feel it in her whole presence. So you guys are very lucky to have her. So I've been in a lot of Unity churches. So now, today we're going to talk about miracles. Why not? That's what the Daily Word was about today, which could not be better. So scientists hate the idea of miracles. That's because when a miracle happens, it violates a law of nature. But the truth of the matter is, miracles in quantum physics happen all the time. Let me give you some examples. We know that an electron circles an atom, right? Well, one of the laws of nature is an object can't be in two different places at the same time. Wrong. When nobody's watching that electron, it magically turns into energy waves. So it is everywhere at the same time, because it's energy. It's not located in time and space. Another one, it's a big one, Einstein's law of relativity. The fundamental premise of the law of relativity is nothing can go faster than the speed of light. In 1931, two very famous physicists by the name of Schrödinger and Heidelberg proposed a theory called quantum entanglement. That happens if you got a couple electrons circling an atom, they become quantumly entangled, which means beyond time-space limitations. So even if you were to separate them by 1 trillion miles, if you pushed on one, the other one would instantaneously go in the exact same direction. In fact, so instantaneously, the communication would be faster than the speed of light. Einstein hated this theory. At one point, he called it spooky action at a distance. Seriously. But in 1981, Einstein was proven wrong. Then they redid the experiment actually 3 years ago in the new cyclotron in Switzerland. And they found that not only did the two electrons communicate faster than the speed of light, it was 10,000 times faster than the speed of light. If you're going to break a law of nature, you might as well go all the way. But the spookiest thing in physics is actually the idea that consciousness itself is the quantum field. Consciousness itself is the quantum field. Now, this one, I'm going to use an example from the movie What the Bleep. They didn't really explain it very well. And it's kind of complicated, but I'm going to try to make it easy to understand by using some generalities and also some analogies. So if you find it a little difficult to understand, don't worry about it. I'm going to try to give you the bottom line here in just a minute. We're not going to spend too much time on quantum physics because we got better things to talk about. But not that there's anything better than that, but we're going to talk about how we are the quantum, but that's another whole story. We haven't got there yet. So so interestingly enough, so they were shooting that little ball of electrons through a slit. And they're lining up in the back wall. And there was an eye watching. The eye represented consciousness. As long as the eye was watching, there was a ball there. And they lined one line. As soon as the eye went away, or consciousness went away, there were 16 lines. How could one line turn into 16? That doesn't make any sense. So what happened was, what they discovered was that energy and matter are two parts of the same whole. That without consciousness, you can't have matter. Without matter, you can't have people, you can't have galaxies, you can't have stars. In other words, without consciousness, you can't have particles. So that means there must be some consciousness that's collapsing energy waves into particles to make this universe. Now, what I think happened is, in a roundabout way, indirect way, physics has discovered God. Who is that consciousness, right? But here's the interesting thing. We got consciousness. Now, is our consciousness the same as that consciousness that created the whole universe? So, I like that. Who said yes? Oh, he did. Good. You can take over. I'm going to go take a break. You don't want to take over. Okay. I'm stuck. We'll have to finish up then, I guess. All right. So the same consciousness. Really great point, though. So the same force that created the universe lies within us. That's what we're trying to say. Because there's over 1,000 studies that shows that our consciousness can also create miracles. Now, I like to differentiate them in 4 different groups, kind of categorize them. make it simple to understand. The first one is the prayer research, which, by the way, Unity Church has been an active participant in. One of the reasons I like Unity Church so much so is because they believed in their message so much so that they subjected it to scientific scrutiny by involved in the prayer research. I'm going to talk about one of their studies in just a few minutes. The second group is the research that I was involved with that shows that people meditating can actually make the world a better place by reducing crimes, auto accidents, and suicides. Far out kind of stuff. The third group is the group that shows that we can know things before they happen. The fourth group is the research that shows that consciousness can even influence machines. So we'll start with the prayer research. And the prayer research started way back in the 1980s. And they would have, they'd pray for one ward of the hospital. They wouldn't pray for the surrounding wards. And the ward they prayed for would get well faster, have less need for antibiotics, better quality of life, and even in some cases less deaths than the surrounding wards. Now, most scientists poo-pooed this early research, saying what was happening here was really that the people doing the praying happened to pick the ward of the hospital that the best doctors and the best nurses. And they were real good at it. So finally, they did a double-blind study. This was done in 1989, I believe, either 88 or 89. And the double-blind is the best research we can do. It's called the Cadillac version of research. You randomly assign people to different groups. You pray for one, you don't pray for the other, and people are interspaced through the whole hospital, okay? So, and they did a bunch, like 250. That's a lot of studies. And only a couple of them didn't come out significant. So they're basically probably the most reliable research out there. So finally, scientists said, okay, there is something to prayer. But we know what prayer really is. Prayer is positive thinking. Now, is prayer really positive thinking, or is it something else? Interesting question. Unity did a study, 1999, that addresses this question. Unity is headquartered in Kansas City. They did a study up there, and one of my favorite studies of all time. And what they did is a brilliant idea. They took everybody that entered a hospital over a 6-month period, 1,200 people. And they prayed for half of them, didn't pray for the other half, but they had an interesting twist. They didn't tell people they were involved in a study. So nobody knew they were being prayed for. With or for, I guess you could go either way for that. And so they didn't know they were being prayed for. So let's get real practical here. So let's say I'm sick. Reverend Sue's praying for me. I get well faster because she's praying for me, but she doesn't tell me. If she doesn't tell me, I can't have positive thoughts about it because I don't know she's praying for me, right? Does that make sense? So, bingo. So, they did a study like this. And guess what? Same result as the other prayer research. So then, what they did was they said, okay, let's do another one. Unity was involved with this one. This is another group. This was done in Columbia, New York. They had people in America praying for people in Korea. And somehow the prayers had to go through molten rock and arrive at the right person in Korea. Whatever else is in the middle of the world. And they also had another interesting twist. It was a women's in vitro fertilization clinic, women trying to get pregnant. And the results were, again, the women didn't know they were being prayed for. So 50% of the women who were being prayed for had a much greater chance of getting pregnant than the women who weren't getting prayed for. Brings up a whole new dimension to the idea of immaculate conception, but we won't touch that one here. Okay, so, but here's the really interesting thing about prayer. And this is really the biggest thing, believe it or not. The brain waves, electromagnetic fields in the brain, basically don't get past our skull bones. So there's no known energy that can account for these amazing findings. None. Zero. Nada. So what is accounting for it? How can we do stuff in here to change the outside world? It doesn't make any sense. It's got to be one of those quantum things, like a spooky action at a distance thing, which is what the people are coming to conclusion. It's something, it's not energy. It's something else. Okay? Now, my research that I did on groups of people meditating, using TM, Transcendental Meditation, some of you have heard of that, and we actually did it. I actually did the first studies way back in the 1980s. And all of them got published. And we did 3 studies, and they were mind-boggling. And we did, I think, 20 of them. Then we decided to do a demonstration project, which I wasn't one of the authors, but I just participated in it because I thought it was really cool. We waltzed into Washington, D.C. with 4,000 meditators. President Clinton had just been elected. We told everybody that we were going to change we told them we were going to change the quality of life. We were going to improve the quality of life. And we told the mayor, it was Mayor Barry. Remember him? He was the cocaine mayor, but he was rehabilitated by then. And then we told the police chief, we told the newspapers. And if it didn't work, they would have poo-pooed all of our other research. But that's how sure we were it was going to work, because we did 20 studies and everyone came out significant. As long as we got enough people there, it would work. So that's what we did. How it started, we go in there about 7 or 8 in the morning, and then we'd go into a huge big ballroom, all 4,000 of us. We'd be meditating together. And we'd be getting there meditating, and then we'd meditate till about 1 o'clock, and then come back at 3, and then meditate till 7. So about 8 or 9 hours a day for 6 weeks. During that time, of course, the crime rates went way down, 23%. So many people always ask me how we did it. I mean, you must have been thinking about crimes to reduce crimes, right? He says no. You said no. Should we take a vote? Everybody says no up in this front row. All right, well, we won't take a vote because everybody says no. You're right. We never once thought about crimes. Now, how can you reduce crimes without thinking about them? Here's the secret. We got out of the way. We let the divine flow through us. One of my favorite quotes from Charles Fillmore, one of the co-founders of Unity Church: surrender the results. Surrender the results. You can't get to the quantum by trying to get there. That's the ultimate irony. It's everywhere, but you can't get there by trying. You got to get out of the way. That's how we did it. A little bit more complicated than that, but that's basically the bottom line. Remember this: when you want something, you're attracting lack, because you're coming from a place of lack. You attract who you are, not what you want. Throw out all that stuff about intentions. Okay? Or if you have an intention, you got to get rid of it. That's the main thing. So that brings us to the next group of studies. This study was actually done by accident. It was done, it was actually a psychic study. There were people in front of TVs, and they had to guess in advance which photograph was going to come up on the screen. And there was only 2 categories of photographs. The first one was positive, and the next one is negative. The negative ones were gruesome ones of people in morgues. Very gruesome. The positive ones were nature scenes, lots of sun, lots of flowers. And so the people couldn't guess. But lucky for us, that wasn't the end of the story. Because the negative photos were so gruesome, they hooked people up to a GSR machine. A GSR measures anxiety in the skin, we could say. It's very similar to a lie detector. And it measures conductance and all that stuff. You don't have to worry about that. But anyway, basically what they anticipated was there would be a spike in anxiety every time the negative photo was presented. There'd be a spike afterwards. Well, guess what? They did find the spike of anxiety, but they found it before the negative photo was presented, not before the positive one. In other words, our body knew it was going to advance what was going to happen. Unbelievable. Nobody believed it, so they did another study in a different laboratory, as far away as they wanted to get as far away from that laboratory as they could. Same results. Then they looked inside the MRIs. The whole brain would light up with anxiety about 4 seconds before the negative photo was presented. Well, nobody did anything with this research until about 2 years ago. A very famous psychologist by the name of Dr. Bem. He's in every psychology textbook. I've taught a bunch of psychology classes. He decided to revisit it. And I met one of his graduate students one time, and he wanted to do handwriting analysis. He was kind of a far-out psychologist. I liked him. But anyway, he did the study 10 times. 9 of them came out significant. He submitted it to the Journal of Social Psychology. It was accepted. But at the very top of the journal, there was a caveat. The journal editor said, okay, We know he's famous, we know he's good, but this doesn't make any sense. How can we know things before they happen? That doesn't make, he must have made a mistake. We can't figure out what he did wrong, but we're going to submit it to everybody else to help. You can help us figure out what he did wrong. So meanwhile, psychology is going through a turmoil right now. Personally, I think it's a great thing. Psychology is finally entering the quantum age where time and space have no meaning. It's awesome. Okay, that brings us to the last group, the group that shows from Princeton, from engineers and scientists there, who devised a machine because their theory was that if our consciousness is quantum field based, then if we devise a machine which is quantum based, then it'll have an influence on the machine. So that's what they did. They built a machine based on cosmic radiation. Cosmic radiation is quantum based. It's very, very reliable. In fact, you can run atomic clocks by it. So the output from the machine was very simple, 10, 10, 10. Now, they took college freshmen, had them concentrate on the machines to see if they could change the output from 1010 to 111 or 000. And after hundreds of thousands of trials, they found that there was indeed a significant effect. Personally, it was very weak, I should mention. But personally, I don't know how they managed it, because I remember when I was a college freshman, I could barely get out of bed, much less influence a quantum field random number generator. But they were able to do it. Then they had a brilliant idea. Let's put 4 or 5 of these kids together and see if the effect is stronger, because it's so weak. That's what they found. The more people doing it, the stronger the effect. So what they did was they put all these machines all over the world. What they measured was something akin to the collective consciousness. Every time we do something together, like watch the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, billions of people watch those ceremonies. Then machines go crazy. Instead of 1010, they do 111 or 00. We don't know which direction machines will go, but they'll no longer be that random 1010. And they have 250 events on their website. And things like the Katrina, remember the hurricane, the tsunami, let me think, some other things, the OJ trial verdict. Well, these machines were going on during 9/11. 2 amazing things happened during 9/11. First of all, the machines went crazy for 4 straight days. Nothing like that's ever been seen before. But even more amazing, the machines went crazy 4 hours before 9/11 actually happened. That's before the terrorists even got in the airplanes. So we as a collective must have known what was going to happen before it happened. Unbelievable. So what I've done in 20 minutes is I've outlined 1,000 studies. And basically giving you clues that our consciousness is beyond time-space limitations. Now, we can make 4, probably even more than that, but we can make 4 conclusions out of this that I think are really significant. The first one is life after death. If our consciousness is quantum-based, not brain-based, then there's got to be elements that survive when the brain dies. Life after death is a huge one. Huge, 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 huge. So we've been seeking that one for a long time. There's kind of indirect proof with this research. So the second major conclusion is we're all connected. That's because there is no energy in here that can do this. The force that's going on in here is the same force that's out there. According to the old Upanishads in India, all this is that. All the great physicists studied the Upanishads. We're talking Einstein, Schrödinger, Heidelberg, Tesla, you name it. Because all this is that. Our consciousness is the same as the consciousness that created the whole universe. The unity concept of, what does it call it? Where we're connected. Let me think. That's part of it. It's co-creators. That's it. That one slipped me. So we're all co-creators. We're all connected. Jill Bolte Taylor had a brilliant life after death experience. She was a famous neuroscientist from Harvard, and she had a stroke that shut down her left hemisphere. Now, this is significant because the left hemisphere is the part that keeps the brain going all the time. All those monkey mind going on, all those thoughts. Well, hers was shut down. And instead of being in agony from the stroke, she was in ecstasy. She had the traditional mystical experience. And she had 6 of them. She said the only reason she came back was to let people know you got to get out of your left hemisphere. The thing about it was really interesting to me. She said, for the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. That's huge. We're all connected. We're all connected. And the research proves it. We have the ability to change the outside world, which is a third major conclusion. Together, we can make a bigger difference than we can alone. We are not helpless. So many people are feeling they're helpless. We're not. We're actually making changes right now. Just the other day, I saw another poll on gay marriage. 65% are now for gay marriage. Just 2.5 years ago, 65 are against it, including all of our ex-presidents. There's been a shift in the collective consciousness. It didn't happen through politics. It happened through us doing the work. Because when we do our work inside, it influences the outside world because we're all connected. This is huge. We don't have to change other people. You have to change the war inside yourself. Get rid of those negative thoughts. The negative thoughts are just simply feeding the whole thing. Turn off the television or watch the Animal Channel. That's always fun. So our travel is always a good one too. My brother turned me on a new one, they house repairing, and it's kind of cool. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really positive. And so we can do it. We can do it. That's the main thing. We have the power. And the last but not least, everybody in here has doubts at one time or another. Everybody. It is so refreshing to be living in a time when science is proving spirituality and washing away these doubts. This is an extremely exciting time we're living. Thank you so much for inviting me. Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to say a couple words about the seminar. One of the questions I ask all the 30,000 unitics, I call them unitics. Most of the people I take my classes are unity people. And one of the questions I always ask is, how many people know what their problems are, but they keep making the same mistakes over and over again? And everybody raises their hands, okay? It's not your fault. These are old brain pathways. We now have the technology to change these old brain pathways. That's the beauty of it. Now, but here's the dilemma. Consciousness creates realities according to quantum physics. But so does our subconscious mind create realities. So if we have hidden doubts and fears because we're not aware of them, they're also keeping us from moving forward. That's why so many take one step forward and one step back at the same time. So we want to get rid of the subconscious stuff. And that's what we have the technique to do now. What we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to get out of the way, surrender, so that the quantum flows through you, the divine flows through you. And because when you want something, remember, you're attracting lack. So we're going to get you into what I call the state of fearless love. Fearless love. And we're going to use that to manifest with. Because love has, a lot of people have love has fears associated with it. We've got to get out of the fears. In order to manifest, you've got to be a pure reflector. So we're going to teach you these techniques to help get rid of the old blocks and transform the old blocks into a new brain matrix full of abundance and love. And so I'll be doing things that are quite a bit different than the last time I was here. It'll be somewhat a little similar to the meditation we did in the church. And I'm excited about coming here. And if anybody needs any personal appointments, I'm available on Monday and Tuesday. I really love this church. It's really exciting. And if I can help transform a few lives, it's good with me. But I love supporting Reverend Sue's ministry. And you guys are amazing, and I appreciate you inviting me. If you can't come to the seminar, oh, by the way, you can come to the seminar on Monday night if you can't make today. And just come a little early so we can catch you up. It's a 2-day seminar, but you don't have to do both days. And also, I have CDs and DVDs you can take.